Today we are so lucky to have a special guest on the show with her famous novel To Kill a Mockingbird, having sold millions of copies. Welcome, Harper Lee, everyone!
Hello, listeners.
How are you today, Harper?
I'm doing great, thank you.
I know you are a busy woman, so I'm going to get straight onto the 10 questions I have for you today. Here is a question that many of us wonder about. Why did you choose to base the novel on the lives of children?
Well, I chose to base the novel on the lives of children to explore the significance of coming of age and, most importantly, to illustrate the cruelty of racial discrimination. Although the child harbors a more innocent and more shielded point of view, I believe it would provoke a plethora of emotions in the reader if they were to learn about injustice from a child's perspective. In some situations, children are actually more intelligent than adults. In the real world, you commonly see people judging others based on their race, whereas a child's heart is more pure. You don't see children picking their friends by their skin color. I felt like children could really illustrate my point on how equality is key in society.
I see. That is extremely insightful, and I love how you made such stylistic decisions in order to make your message of the novel extremely strong. Upon writing your book, how did you gain credibility on writing a book about racial discrimination?
During the process of writing, I had a bit of trouble writing about the slaves and segregation. As I am not of African American descent, I had never personally experienced such terrible injustice. How was I to write about slavery without misrepresenting anyone? I decided to do extensive research, and I read any anecdote I could find from the point of view of an African American. In regards to unfair court cases, I talked to people with experience of racial injustice in an attempt to empathize and live vicariously through them. Overall, I did what I could do to best represent African Americans in a credible manner.
I highly admire you for doing your best to correctly represent another race through your novel. Speaking of the novel, how did you come up with the idea of using a mockingbird as a symbol in your book?
Originally, I planned on having a different title for the book, one based on the name of a character. But the very title, Atticus, no longer resonates within me, and it blurred the importance of the novel. If my title were to be based on the name of one of the characters, it would almost seem as though the main point of the story was the characters, and this is not the case. I needed something that would make the issue of civil rights and culture very distinct. When I started to rack my mind for details, the word purity and destruction kept coming up. Throughout the novel, there are many innocent figures who are unfortunately targeted. There is a kind-hearted Boo Radley who helps the children throughout the story, but who is constantly squashed by his spiteful father. Tom Robinson, another character, along with the rest of the African Americans, exemplifies the stories of innocent people mistreated and looked down upon because of their race. To inflict such cruelty should be regarded as a sin. It made me think of the mockingbird, an animal with only innocent intentions. Therefore, any ill intentions directed towards the mockingbird would count as something contemptible. As the idea eventually developed, I decided to include the mockingbird as a symbol to ease into the idea of racial discrimination, together with the idea of purity being destroyed, hence the title, To Kill a Mockingbird.
I know that writing a novel must not have been an easy process. What struggles did you face whilst writing the novel?
I definitely struggled getting to the end of my novel. Every day when I was writing, I would spend an average of 6 to 12 hours, but only succeeded in producing one page of the novel. I think that people don't always have the right concept about writing. It is a very strenuous endeavor.
Every aspect of your book is so carefully written. I have noticed that in the book there are some characters that I would like to deem as bizarre yet common in other books, like for example, Miss Stephanie Crawford. Why did you choose to incorporate characters like Stephanie?
I chose to incorporate an abundance of characters to help further develop the main characters in the story. When protagonists are juxtaposed against commonplace characters, more of the protagonist's personalities are revealed.
Very interesting.
I also use the characters to show how simple it is to accept those of other races. By having an assortment of different characteristics, I also try to show that if people can accept all types of personalities, it is just as easy to stop mistreating those of other races.
I had the public also send in some questions. A lot of them want to know about your journey as an author. What was the path you took in order to get where you are today?
I believe it was in high school when I first became interested in the field of English literature. Eventually, I began to further envelop myself in the world of literature through the Literacy Honors Society at Huntingdon College and then the school paper when I moved to the University of Alabama. From there, I changed and decided to move on to law with the intention of becoming a lawyer. However, after a year of studying law, I realized that I was not committing to a subject that I was passionate about. Upon returning home from my summer exchange in Oxford, I decided to follow my heart and become a writer.
While we talk about your history, I have noticed that the media often covers stories on your childhood, but I would like to hear about it personally. What was your childhood like, and did it affect the way the novel was written?
There are definitely a lot of aspects of my childhood that are mixed into the novel. For a start, I was never really a girl who was into things such as dollies. I guess I was quite a bit of a tomboy, who hung out with guys more often than girls. Scout was based off my younger self. In addition to that, my father was a lawyer. His work had a bit of an influence on my childhood, which is portrayed throughout the book. There was one case that my father took on, defending two black men accused of murdering a white store clerk. The situation definitely affected the way people treated me when I was a child, which is shown through the novel. However, I must repeat that this novel is not autobiographical. I only use parts of my life in order to form the base of the story.
Today, your novel is read by millions of individuals across the world. Did you think that the book would become a timeless classic? Why? Or why not?
Whilst writing the novel, I constantly hoped that the novel would have a profound effect on the public. I really wanted to open the eyes of the public to the issues that individuals of other races had to face. I knew a lot of people weren't really aware of the reality of racial discrimination. I designated my book to help them find the passion in fighting for justice. Although I did want my novel to ignite a flame and impact a plethora of people, I didn't expect my novel to become read by millions of people across the globe. All I did was to set an aim to write about an issue without any intention of having it blown up as a timeless classic.
Speaking of having profound influence on the public, do you think the movie accurately portrays your novel? Why or why not?
Yes, and it couldn't have turned out any better. Jeff Pirtle was an amazing director who opened up the set for me to come in and see the development and production of the movie. Very often, movies don't accurately portray the aspects of the novel they are based on. Because I realized how impactful the novel was, I wanted to make sure the same thing didn't happen to this movie. I definitely visited the set as much as I could. I really appreciated Pirtle's hard work, and I was pleased with all the actresses, actors, setting, plot, dialogue, and costume decisions. I do not regret the decision of having a movie made off my novel.
After publication of the novel, what were some struggles you faced?
I'm definitely more of an introverted person, and so when my book became widely read, the fame and attention brought to me was a very big struggle. I personally do not like people prying into my personal life, so I definitely struggled with that aspect. Another struggle was the lawsuit against my agent Simon Pincus. It was extremely difficult to see that the person I had entrusted with my novel was willing to take advantage of me and try to steal the copyright of my book. It was heartbreaking, really.
That is very unfortunate. I'm sorry you had to go through all these hardships.
Thank you for being so sympathetic. It means a lot.
Wow, look at the time. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming in for an interview.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today.